obviously we see people get stronger, we see them look better, their body composition changes. Those physical changes are great, they're exciting, but seeing the confidence, seeing the change in people's attitude is what is so rewarding to me as a coach and as the owner.
3, 2, 1, yeah!
Welcome, everybody, to the very first episode of the Helix Healthcast. This episode is going to be a little bit different than what you can expect from all the episodes that'll come after it, because I thought I'd start by telling you a little bit about myself. If I'm going to expect you to listen to me and hopefully take some of my advice, I thought you should probably know who I am, where I come from, how I got here. So if you're looking for fitness, nutrition, health advice, this episode's not going to have a ton of that. So if you don't really care about who I am, want that advice, you can just skip on to the second episode, because we're going to drop both that first week. But if you want to know a little bit more about me and who you're actually listening to, then go ahead and give it a listen. I'll try to make it quick, but yeah, let's get into it. I grew up in Kansas City. I was born in Florida, but for as long as I can remember, I'm from Kansas City. I moved there when I was about a year old, mostly raised by my mom and grandparents, her parents. Growing up, I was always an athlete. I always played sports. I was super active, especially Midwestern kids. Like, we tend to be outside a lot. So wasn't really into fitness growing up, but was definitely an athlete, definitely moved a lot and cared about staying active. So played sports. Had some injuries in high school. I actually had 4 knee surgeries, 2 on each. So whenever people come into the gym with knee issues, I can always empathize a little extra with that. I wound up having some knee surgery, so had some time off, got back into it. So went through a lot of PT in high school, which was probably my first exposure to real fitness, but still wasn't really into it. Didn't really know what I was doing. I would work out in high school, like especially with the basketball soccer team, but I didn't really know what we were doing. Typical high school guy bro workouts. We would do some bench, some bicep curls, some crunches, and that was about it. So definitely would not suggest anyone train the way I did when I was in high school. I've learned a lot since then. But after high school, I did a gap year and went to Israel for a year. It's a program where they kind of help set you up with stuff. They give you a place to live. So I wound up going with some people I knew. So I wasn't alone there. Lived with some other Americans, some Brits, a couple Israelis, and mostly was volunteering. Took a couple classes, but they helped set you up with some volunteering. And so did that mostly. I worked in a sports center for the disabled, helping do like wheelchair basketball and some water programs, like aqua therapy. I helped coach a kids soccer team there. I worked in a community center helping teach some self-defense and kickboxing classes. I had done some MMA in high school and the summer after, so I had a little bit of experience with that. Spent the year in Israel volunteering and doing a lot of partying too, a lot of eating. I was 18 and young and got to go abroad, so it was definitely a fun year, but also really rewarding. After that, I went back to Kansas, where I was going to school at the University of Kansas. Wound up switching majors a couple times, even just in that year, and didn't stay long because I went to visit some people in the UK, wound up really liking it, and still wanted to experience different cultures after having been in Israel for a year. To go back to Kansas, not gonna say it was bad, but it was definitely a little boring. I wanted more experiences, more life experience. So I wound up transferring and going to school at the University of Manchester for 3 years. While I was there, I studied business, international business, and finance specifically, and also played on the American football team there, which is funny because I had never played football growing up. I went to a really small private school, and so we had basketball, soccer. I'd played baseball when I was younger, but to all the people in England who had also never played football, I knew way more about it than they did, just because I grew up at least watching it, playing a little bit, playing with friends. So I wound up playing American football there. I played wide receiver and safety and special teams. So it was a club team. So it was a lot of fun, made some amazing friends, went there for 3 years. And that's probably when I started actually working out. When I went to school there, still didn't really know what I was doing, but the guys from the football team would all go to the gym together. Again, a lot of bro-y workouts, but probably the first time I actually started working my legs, doing some squats. So that was good. in high school, we definitely skipped leg day. So it was good that I started to learn not to do that. But after the 3 years in England, I went back to Kansas. I was working some random jobs, not really sure what I wanted to do with my life. That is also when I got into powerlifting. I started working out with a group of people at a gym there. They kind of took me under their wing and showed me the ropes, really taught me the value of hard work, dedication, being able to like put in the work and really see the results. So that was really when I first kind of fell in love with fitness and started to learn more and be a lot more dedicated to it. And while I was kind of figuring my life out, again, I still wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I definitely didn't like sitting at a desk, which probably isn't great when you get a business degree. But at my mom's suggestion, I wound up going to culinary school. I'd always loved to cook. I think I was pretty good at it. And it was my creative outlet. So I really enjoyed it. It helped me relieve stress. I loved learning more about it. And so culinary school was really exciting prospect. I did a program where it's an apprenticeship program. So you're in school a couple days a week, and then you're also working full time in a restaurant as an apprentice learning. So throughout the few years that I was there, I worked in a couple different restaurants and got a lot of different experience on the line, learned a ton. But the culinary world is not the healthiest industry to work in. Obviously, I was eating a lot of unhealthy stuff. One of the things that comes with cooking is tend to eat, got to taste everything, and definitely have a love for food, and not great at portion control. So wound up eating a lot of unhealthy stuff. It's also very high stress and crazy hours. And so I wasn't really working out. I was eating like shit, didn't feel great about myself. Had kind of lost that confidence, that drive that I had when I was working out more. And really just kind of got burnt out on it. While I was still a chef, though, I did start working out again. I went to a gym where my mom was working with a trainer. I started going to that gym, became friends with some of the trainers, started working out with one of them who was a bodybuilder, became friends. And that was when I really fell in love with fitness. I not only was getting in shape and looking better, but really the most important part was that I was feeling better. It brought back a sense of confidence. I was less stressed. I was just a much happier person, probably a lot more fun to be around than I had been before I started working out again. So it was really the mental and emotional changes that made me fall in love with fitness. And while I was still working as a chef, getting into shape, I decided to actually do a physique competition, which was a great experience. I'll probably never do another one because I like to eat too much. That's why I compete in weightlifting. But did that and decided I was going to get my personal trainer certification. Really, I just wanted to learn more. I thought maybe I'll do it on the side. But I was continuing to get more and more burnt out in the culinary world. And without going into too much detail, things kind of were falling apart at the restaurant I was working at. A lot of people were leaving and I left, but I really didn't want to go to another restaurant. And as luck would have it, the gym that I was going to, which was in downtown Kansas City, it was called One Life at the time. It's now called Genesis, but they needed a new assistant fitness director, someone who was going to be a trainer, but also help with some of the business side of things. And that's what I had studied in school. And so talking to the fitness director there, telling her how I was thinking of being a trainer and telling her more about my background, it kind of just worked out. And I wound up getting the job and making the jump to do fitness full time, which was definitely eye-opening. It was a big change. And to be honest, when I first started, I didn't really know what I was doing. I love fitness and it was exciting to get to train people, but there was definitely a little bit of a fake it till you make it mentality to get started. But because I really just got thrown in there, but it was an amazing experience. And I worked with a lot of really knowledgeable people who were so ready and willing to share that knowledge with me, which I appreciate. And it's definitely helped me become the coach that I am today. So I definitely have them to thank for that. But I was working there and training people, was getting busier. I was building a clientele. And then what really changed my path, both career-wise and life-wise, is while I was working there, the show Queer Eye came to film in Kansas City. They had filmed the first 2 seasons in Atlanta, and then they came to Kansas City to film the next 2. And they happened to be staying in some apartments right next to my gym and get some memberships. And I wound up introducing myself and wound up training them. And I thought, I'll train them while they're here. They were there for a good 5-6 months. It was a long time for them to be filming. And over that time, like you do with any clients, you got close. We became friends. They're all amazing people, and had a lot of fun training them, and thought, I'll train them. It'll be fun. They'll leave, go back to LA, New York, wherever they live. They kind of live all over. And yeah, we'll, hopefully keep in touch. And as they were getting ready to leave, they were getting ready to go to Japan to film a mini season there. They did 4 episodes, so they were going to be spending a month in Japan. And they asked me if I wanted to go with them. Obviously, it was much easier for them to bring me than have to find a trainer there, especially them not being there that long. They were going to have an apartment gym that we could use. And so I obviously agreed. Who would say no to that? Get to go to Japan for a month and train them, work, get to explore. And so that was the plan. I was going to go to Japan with them and then just go back to Kansas City, continue on with my life. But after they left Kansas City, there was a gap in between. And there was one night where I get a text from Bobby, the designer on the show, Bobby Burke, asking me if I want to move to LA and work for him. Didn't have a lot of details. And I texted him back and I was like, yeah, let's do it. He texted me and he was like, don't you want more details than that? I didn't think you'd say yes that easily. Fortunately for him, he decided to text me while it was snowing and freezing cold in Kansas City. So when you get a text asking if you want to move to California in the middle of a snowstorm, kind of start leaning towards yes. So it was not hard to convince me. And I turned to my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife. And I was like, hey, do you want to move to LA? A little bit more of a shock to her. She took a little more time to adjust and think it over. But the plan was for us to both fly to LA for a couple of days, meet him, fly out to Japan, and have the month there. She was going to come for the last week. And then on the way back, we'd stop, look at some apartments in LA, and then go back to Kansas City to pack up. I was going to be working for Bobby. He was getting ready to launch a lifestyle website, a lifestyle blog. And so he thought, why not hire Zach? He can be my personal trainer, my personal chef, because I had been a chef before, and then also do a bunch of content for my website. So it really worked out well for both of us. And we planned on me moving to LA. That's also when I decided to propose, because I figured if I'm going to ask her to move out to LA with me, leave her home, leave all her friends and family, then I should probably put a ring on it, which thankfully she said yes. I proposed the night before we left for LA/Japan for that big trip. So went back to Kansas City to pack up our stuff, moved to LA engaged, and started a new life together working for Bobby. And that's what I did for a long time here in LA. I worked with him when they would film. I would travel with them. I would train the other guys as well while they were out filming. Went to Philly with them for a couple months, went to Austin twice actually because of COVID. We got shut down. The show got shut down. Wound up having to go back again later to finish out the season. Went to New Orleans. And then when we were getting ready to go to New Orleans is when I was thinking more and more about opening my own gym. It's something I'd always dreamed of, something that was kind of always in the back of my mind. And it just seemed like the right time to make that step. And so we started kind of planning on it. And I told Bobby before we went to New Orleans that obviously I was going to still go. I wasn't going to leave him hanging, but the plan was to come back and open my gym, and started coming up with the idea of Helix, which is where I'm recording this right now, the gym that I own. We've been open for about 8 months now. So we started coming up with the idea, coming up with names, the concept, thinking more and more about what it was going to be, what it was going to look and feel like, and started looking at locations. It's weird because it feels like it all happened really fast, but also really slow, because we had all these ideas and things were moving fast. And then we started looking at locations, and That part was a little bit of a struggle. You'd be surprised by how many property managers and owners do not want a gym in their space. Started reaching out to a lot of open spaces. I get it after having talked to them more. The reasons I got, one was we use too much parking, even though our concept is small group training. And I tried to explain to them, like, we're going to have really small classes. We won't have that many people at a time. The biggest reason, which I totally understand, is anywhere with shared walls, gyms make noise. We've got music blasting. We've got people dropping weights. And so a lot of the spaces just didn't want a gym because they're too noisy. There was one space that we almost signed on with, and then one of the neighbors found out. They complained. We did like a noise test where I dropped a bumper plate, and they were not happy about it. And so that fell through. Kept looking. As we were looking, we were talking more and more about, equipment, classes, structure, theme, like what values we want to have with the gym. And it's turned into what we've got today. We are a small group strength and conditioning gym. Our classes are 10 people max because we really want people to get plenty of coaching and plenty of attention. We don't want them to just be lost in some huge class of people. We, like I said, focus on strength training, and we get a lot of new people. And that's really where I found a lot of enjoyment. When I was training people one-on-one, and now here at the gym, what I love to see is that change that I had when I first kind of went back to fitness while I was a chef. Obviously, we see people get stronger. We see them look better. Their body composition changes. Those physical changes are great. They're exciting. But seeing the confidence, seeing the change in people's attitude is what is so rewarding to me as a coach and as the owner. To see people that were scared of a barbell all of a sudden, like throwing plates on, doing deadlifts, to see people doing things that they never thought they could even try, that they were scared to try. That's what I really love about it. And so we've tried really hard to make this space approachable, to make it accommodating. We have all levels of people. In a class, we'll have someone who's in their 20s and played college football, and we'll have someone in their 60s who just started working out. And everyone is doing the same workout with modifications. Everyone's grabbing the weights that they need. Our coaches offer plenty of alternatives if someone doesn't have the mobility or the strength to do something. And we want everyone to really get the most out of it. We want to make strength training something that is less intimidating. I know that people are scared to try it. It is really intimidating. You walk into a gym. Our gym is like all black everywhere. We've got stacks of plates, tons of dumbbells, kettlebells, all the other weights. People get intimidated, but what I love is when people come try a class and they're like, I was so intimidated until we started, and I realized, like, oh, this is totally doable. The coaches were so supportive. Everyone here is so supportive of each other. And I'm really proud of what we've built. And that same theme is what I want to have with this podcast. Approachable, to try to take some of the intimidation factor away, to make it seem doable for everyone. So that's what you can expect from this podcast. We want it to be practical. We want to give you really useful insights into fitness and nutrition and health without bogging it down too much in all the boring stuff. There are a lot of health and fitness podcasts out there, like I said in the trailer, if you listen to it. And I love listening to those like super long deep dives. They get really into the science. But for most people, they just want to know what they can do to be healthier, to be fitter, to feel and look better. And so that's what we're here for. We want to give you simple, actionable advice so that you can be healthier and better and really get the most out of it. I am really excited to get more into this podcast and get it going and record some more episodes for you. I'm going to record another one right after this that we'll be dropping together. But if there's anything you want to hear us talk about, any questions you want answered, you can email us at podcast@helixgyms.com. You can DM us on Instagram, however you want to reach us. And I'm really looking forward to connecting with you all and being a part of your fitness journey. I know this first episode, I was kind of rambling a lot, and I appreciate you listening. And hopefully you'll continue to listen as we move forward. So I'll see you all on the next episode. Have a great rest of your day.